ɛno aba and is start saa na na kyerɛ sɛ wɔn sɛ ɛnkyɛ ɛbɛkɔ across all the countries nti ya start nti ne yɛ sɛ time with tap mu wɔ hanom a ade biara idea bi ebesi mu tirim biara no you can bring it yɛ pushi a nyame nkyɛ de du baabi a yɛtaa de ba nti almost so far nneɛma bi a yɛ pushi biara no ɛyɛ adwuma. Bill pay ni deɛ ɛm sɛ ɛwɔ hɔ you can use your app to also be paying things back home nti ɛno so ɛba. Now we are dealing with the virtual tap send card no which and also wallet no obiara nsa ka wie ni enroll wie a now not just say you are just a step to virtual card no UK deɛ ɛnkyɛ na ya launch it nti piki kakra ɛwɔ hɔ no nneɛma bebree so gu apa so a yɛhyehyɛ na yɛde aba nti na piki kakra.
Can you give us a demo how to run your friend is saying how to do the US to UK money sending?
Okay.
And I say a friend is saying educative part in your do tap send Q&A now will be some time for tutorials nanka a month on how to use that.
Do it right. And a quick one. We'll share with screen crack. I could just show you. Just the way I will select it. Ghana was wrong. We'll select UK, right? Now, we'll show up on so we'll share country Ghana now. You just change it to you. Put in the amount and do send it and add the Nipano account and
okay. To just change the location. No, I don't know.
UPK same so the A class cabaret first carrying in Akuman. Say the only excuse.
Yeah, watch our Jamie. Online. It's our court. Now the evidence now by Kwaya me first with a class. I don't know. The class is on the culture of so much. So see on so account.
Already can be our excuse.
Me the makers or the maker, but when I was with them in the car. Director does any updates, and I think it's a beautiful thing. So right now we can send money to UK, and we in due time. I think it's a bit my Canada, you know, because this is something a lot of people are asking about. It's a good initiative. Yeah, that's it. I think say you do Q&A session now. There'll be more in-depth your friend is saying demo about that. In case you have any questions or doubt during the Q&A session for the top saying parts in the corner, no, we'll be able to just go through all that. Sabre, you better introduce your special guest for today. No other than your friend is a youngster Professor Joe Andor, or your professor of Valley View. Or today I saw for ADM. You know, not only is he a scholar, also a minipa. You know, and there on here about share kwanya bit my first so I manage families and friends, but henceforth now the show is going to be run strictly in English. We only do the 3 parts just for the sake of the commercials that we run, as well as you know, getting ourselves introduced to the people. But now the show is strictly going to be run in English, and please get your questions ready so that we can ask them for you. At this point, we'd like to welcome Professor Joe Andor. Prof, how are you doing?
Yeah, by God's grace, I'm fine. Good evening to you all.
Good evening.
From Ghana.
Yes, and with your outfit, we can tell you are in the northern region right now with your jalabia.
Yes, exactly. I have
right now. You can call me OD.
All right. Yeah. So I am actually in Tamale at the moment, but thank God thank God for technology. We are able to reach out no matter where we are. And
the world is a global village.
Once again, thank you for having me on your show.
Yes, sir.
I am always happy every time I join with friends here, and it's a nice community. The
Yeah, that was it. Thanks for coming too. It's always a privilege to have you with your busy schedule in and out of the corners of Ghana, and still make time for us. We are very grateful.
That's fine. Yeah,
on this note, before we even delve into today's topic, we've all heard the bad news on Saturday that our very own, I don't want to say the biggest high life icon, but I can say the most streamed high life artist in West Africa, you know, has passed on. Well, what can you say? Just a few words in 30 seconds before
Yeah, I
we delve
think
into
so,
today's topic.
it hits. I mean, some of us really hard, because growing up, I think so.
Hey, so
Uh,
Pastor be listen to High Life too.
I did. I used to sing. I've been half every in from line
Hey,
one to line last.
hey.
Yeah, I think so. His music really did a lot. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes ebi no bɛka sɛ ɛyɛ profane, but sɛ wotie n'anwum yi a, the you see say every song had a message. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
the aspects that people tag profane, no, for me, it is life. In fact, we have words that are in his song in the Bible as well. And in Bible times, the book Song of Solomon was also tagged as profane. And for me, musicians like Daddy Lumba and Obia, especially those of us who grew up in the 90s, they shaped us in terms of, not in terms of say shaping us in terms of, but their music did something to us then. And next, I mean, say young people, no, to and Yumia. I don't. Sometimes they will sing a song from line to line, and I've not even heard that song yet. And then I remember, I said, well, those days I used to also sing that the Lumbe songs. And Tina say, "Sanyum for na mama penso." So I mean, we just want to tell the family, say we are with them. He wasn't. He even though he was born into their family. But because he was relevant to all of us, his passing has hit all of us hard. That's all I would say.
Okay. Thank you very much. So Pastor, Prof, walk us through the today's topic. If you want us to give us a little overview about the topic and also some of the contributing factors and some of the prevalent issues that lingers around in terms of families and friends invading into marriages or we invited them into our marriages, as well as contributing factors that can be mitigated or alleviated to promote a healthy marriage environment.
All right, Medasi. So let me begin by saying, sir, we normally define marriage as a union between two people. That is more like the standard definition for marriage. It's a union between two people. I would normally insist that it's a union between a man and a woman. For obvious reasons, I don't just say two people, I will say a man and a woman. And this union is intended to last a lifetime. In other words, is that
Prof, try to keep it strictly English. All right.
Okay, all right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so good. Thank you. That will even make it easier for me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I insist for obvious reasons that we should define marriage as a union between a man and a woman. Even though the average definition will be like is a union between two people. But then apart from the man and the woman who are getting married, we have other people. They are not the only people who live on this earth. And they are not going to interact with only themselves. In fact, for those of us who are from Africa, Ghana to be precise, we normally say that people marry into families. You marry into a family. Even though it is just the two people who are marrying, they are marrying into a family. And before you met your wife, before you met your husband, you had friends or you had people in your life. More or less, what I'm trying to say is that marriage does not change you from the society that you find yourself in. The fact that somebody is married does not take away his family and friends. Marriage does not take away her family and friends. So it is a journey that brings two people together, but it is also a journey that brings more than two people together, because you have family members and you have friends. For this reason, normally there are challenges that occur when there is a conflict between choosing between your family, your friends, and your marriage when that conflict occurs. And so I am going to walk you through the challenges as they exist. And then I will talk about some of the things that we can do. But mainly, I will mention three main things. I'll mention boundaries, I'll mention communication, and I'll mention prioritizing. These are the three things that I'll be talking about in terms of how we can manage family and friends in our marriage. But the aspect of the realities is what I want to talk about regarding the actual challenges that we have. So the moment you get married, your relationship with your friends and family can change in ways that you didn't even anticipate. And that is actually the challenge. Now, before marriage, an ordinary person, a normal person, like I said, will have family members, will have friends. These friends you are going to talk to all the time. Your friend can wake you up in the middle of the night. You can go out and chill with friends, and you are not reporting to anybody. You don't have a husband, you don't have a wife, so you can just make friends. Anybody you want to be friends with, you can do that. Before marriage, you have family members, your brothers, your sisters, your cousins, your uncles, your nephews, your nieces, even your parents can visit you anytime they like. They can just do basically anything. After all, you are family. However, the moment you get married, another person has joined your immediate circles, and that is your spouse, your husband, your wife. For that reason, you can't just relate with outsiders the way you have always done. And when I talk about outsiders, I am talking about your family and your friends. The moment you get married, those people become outsiders in the sense of the word, as in who an outsider is. Somebody who is not a core member of your marriage becomes an outsider. So let me give a sociological example. Normally, when we are discussing the idea of families, especially those who operate the nuclear family, if you are in a nuclear family, you have yourself, your mother, your father, and your siblings. If you have sisters, if you have brothers, that is your nuclear family. But then when you get married, you have another nuclear family. But this time around, this new nuclear family is a family in which you are the parent, you are the father, you are the mother, and you are there with your children. Because of this challenge in nuclear families, sociologists have actually come out with two types of nuclear families. We have what we call your family of orientation, and then your family of procreation, or your conjugal family. Let me explain it a little bit. I am doing this so that it will become clear when we are talking about the family aspect. So your family of orientation is a family in which you are a child. So it is you and your siblings and your parents. That is your family of orientation. But the moment you become the father, you become the mother, it becomes your family of procreation, your conjugal family. And so when you now have the two families, family of procreation and family of orientation, the one that becomes your immediate family is your conjugal family, your family of procreation. So members of your previous nuclear family, your family of orientation, now would become outsiders to your family of procreation. So somebody who was an insider all of a sudden becomes an outsider, and that is a big challenge. Some people are unable to cross that boundary, and so even though they are married, they still see the partner, the one they are married to, as the outsider. So they have the insider being their family of orientation, and then they keep the conjugal family member as an outsider, which is not the way it ought to be. Now, I'm saying it is not the way it ought to be, not from the traditional setup, but from the biblical perspective. So Genesis chapter 2, verse 24. For this reason, a man will leave father and mother and be joined to his wife, and they become one flesh. So the principle of marriage, the oneness in marriage, makes your family of orientation a set of, or a group of outsiders to your marriage. And so if you don't understand this concept well, that is where you begin to have problems relating with your family of procreation, or your conjugal family, because you are likely to allow the conflict to continue between here and there. You are likely to still see your wife or your husband as an outsider, and you still relate with your family of orientation as your original, initial, and most important family. It is when we do this that we begin to face problems. So when we are dealing with family members, it is important to understand this concept clearly. Because when we don't understand it, there is conflicting loyalty between your partner and your family. When I talk about conflicting loyalty, this is what I mean. You and your husband, you and your wife have decided to do something. And then your mother comes to suggest something. Your father comes to suggest something. You feel a sense of attachment, a sense of, duty to your parents, to your brother, to your sister. For that reason, you are likely to flout the agreement that you reached with your partner, with your husband, with your wife, and follow that which your mother or your father or your sister has suggested. That conflicting loyalty can bring a problem. Again, there is a problem of expectations from family members. So family members will usually expect that you do for them what you used to do for them. You continue to relate with them the way you used to relate with them, forgetting that now your situation has changed. They forget that now you have another person who is a core member of your family. And so you find Ofori-Asenso, when I talk about Ofori-Asenso, I'm talking about nephews, nieces, trying to take their school fees from you. You will find your uncle calling you to help build a certain family legacy. I mean, you will find calls that will actually undermine the marriage, because they still see you as their family member. They still see you as their son, their brother. They still see you as part of them. And so if you do not take care, these expectations will likely bring a conflict in your marriage, because your husband, your wife also expects certain things from you. Again, it brings what we call social dynamic changes in the dynamics of how you relate with people. For example, recently I read a funny story of a lady who got married on Saturday. Unfortunately, she didn't get time to go on honeymoon, as it were. Monday, she went to work, leaving her husband's house. She closed from work, and drove straight to her husband's house. To her father's house. And then she took off her clothes, sat there, and was watching TV and having a conversation with her mother. That was her usual routine. And just Saturday, she got married. Monday, she's going back to her usual routine. In other words, she's even forgotten that she's newly married and has to go. It took her father to return from work to say, "Hey, madam, what are you doing here? Get up and go to your husband's house," before she remembered that she was a married woman. I suspect that it was a joke, but it can happen for real. People can actually get married and continue to have this sense of allegiance for their families, and the fact that marriage actually changes the social dynamics in your relationship actually poses a challenge. And then, of course, there is no two ways about the issue of potential conflict and disagreement, especially when it doesn't have to do with you, but it has to do with your partner and your family member. So your mother and your wife are fighting over whatever, or your brother is fighting your wife, or your husband is fighting your sister over something. These conflicts actually would put you in the middle, and you may not know which one to choose or whom to go for, especially when both of them are being unreasonable. I have talked about the challenges as they relate with family. The same challenges can come as they relate with friends. The issue of expectations, like I said, your friends expect that we used to go clubbing, we used to do this together. Why don't we continue doing that? Now, when did this wife come in that you are refusing to go out with? When did you marry that you are refusing to do things that we used to do together as single ladies? So the expectations of your friends actually begin to pose a challenge in the way you relate with your husband or your wife. It also brings conflicting loyalties. You are loyal to your friends. You expect that you should be able to live with your friends, freely. You should be able to do things together and all that. However, this time around, there is a wife in the picture. There is a husband in the picture. And these people in the picture actually will bring some conflicting loyalties between your partner and your friends. And the social dynamics, like I have said, it is the same thing. Things that you used to do together with your friends, because now you are married, it changes. It's no longer the way it is. And so there can be potential disagreements, potential conflicts based on, sometimes you can have a wife or a husband who is not happy with a particular friend. You can have a friend who is not happy that you are married to so and so person. And for that reason, it puts you in a corner. That is the challenge, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the question is, how do we manage it? And I want us to face the reality on the ground. These two persons, your partner and then your family and friends, these are important aspects of your life. You can't leave them out of the equation. So how do you handle the situation? I earlier mentioned that I'm going to suggest 3 things, and I'm going to speak around these. Today, I try to close early enough so that we can make time for questions, if any. So the first thing is boundaries. It is one of the keys to managing family and friends in your marriage. You need to be intentional about certain clear boundaries. That means you should be able to clearly communicate with your partner about what you are not comfortable with. For example, you are my wife, you are my husband, and I see the way you relate with my family. I see the way you relate with my friends. I see the way you relate with your family. I see the way you relate with your friends. When it crosses this boundary, I am not comfortable with it. It makes me uncomfortable. For example, I am not comfortable when you spend more than X amount or more than X percentage of our income on your family or on your friends. you should be able to clearly communicate your discomfort. This means you should also set limits on how often you see certain family members and friends. Now, when I am doing premarital counseling, I make the couple to set the rules before they even enter marriage. But most people do not even set rules before they enter marriage. So they enter marriage and then they begin to realize that there is something that, I am not comfortable with. So, for example, I will ask you, what rules do you want to set in your home regarding visits of family members to your home? And then the man will say, well, for me, I don't really have a problem. I think that our family members can visit us anytime they want. And then the woman would say, no, I don't think they can visit us anytime they want. They should be, before they will visit, they should tell us. One. And two, when they visit, they should have a time in terms of how long they are staying. So I can then go ahead to ask, okay, how about, for example, maybe before, of course, by the time we are doing this discussion, I would have known their family background. I would have known that, for example, the woman is an only child and the parents are both growing old. So what is going to happen when your mother grows old? Will you take your mother to an old people's home, or will your mother come and live with you? This is something that is worth discussing. So let's talk about it and let's set up our boundaries. We don't want it, we will not entertain it, and this is what we will do. If you don't set these boundaries clearly, you are likely to flout them. So it is important to communicate clearly what makes you uncomfortable, to set your limits on how often you see your family members, how often you see friends. For example, I'm okay if you go out with a night out with your boys, but please come home early. Or I think that it is not appropriate if you are going out with friends of the opposite sex. Set your boundaries. Let your partner know what you are uncomfortable with. And then you establish clear expectations on how you want to be treated. This is how I want to be treated. I expect your siblings to respect me. I expect your friends to respect me. I don't expect them to treat me this way or that way or that way or that way. This is something that can be talked about. So when you set these boundaries clearly between the two of you, it becomes easier to handle the challenges when conflicts arise, because both of us sat down and we agreed that we are going to do things this way or that way. The second thing, I told you I was going to talk about three things. The second thing is communication. Now, you will realize that when I was talking about boundaries, the first thing that I mentioned is that you should communicate clearly your boundaries. So communication is actually very effective in managing friends and family in marriage. Unfortunately, people actually go by the principle silence is golden. Now, I say when it comes to issues of marriage and relationship, when you have cracks to fix, silence is not golden. Silence will destroy the love. Because when there's a crack and you don't use communication to mend that crack, you will be destroying your marriage, you'll be destroying your relationship. So silence should not be seen as golden in that side. So effective communication needs to be employed so that you can properly manage family and friends. So you should communicate openly and honestly with your partner about your feelings and concerns. So when we talk about effective communication, we are talking about a situation where you are not hiding anything from your partner. You are so clear, you are so open. It's like you are able to talk exactly how you feel. Most of the time, when it comes to family members, people are unable to clearly communicate. It's like they want to dress the situation. They don't want to offend you. But it is better to be clear and honest about what you want. Communicating is not only about you speaking your mind or speaking what you want. It also involves listening to the perspective of your partner. You should listen and try to understand where the other person is coming from. For example, you have communicated clearly and you have said that, for me, I don't want to allow any family member to visit my home. Meanwhile, your partner is an only child. I think I've mentioned this earlier. And you expect that he or she should abandon the parents that he or she grew up with for the past 20, 30 years just because he's married to you. That is actually being unreasonable. So you need to be reasonable. You need to listen to the perspective of the other person and try to understand where he or she is coming from. And you should also be ready to communicate clearly what you think and how you feel and why you think that way and all that. When you have communicated yours and you have listened to the other person and you've understood the other person's perspective, now the two of you can work together to find solutions when conflicts arise. So you understand where he or she is coming from, and he also understands where you are coming from. Based on that, it becomes easier for you to talk about it. So let's talk about it. Okay, I think I know what you mean. I think I understand what you mean. But you see, my perspective also is that this and that and that and that and that. So you are able to communicate and also listen, and the two of you understand each other. When you do that, you will eventually be able to talk about it. And once you create that kind of environment in the home, an environment where one is not afraid to speak his mind, to speak her mind, an environment where it becomes easy for you to actually listen to each other and discuss issues, it becomes easier. So even in the future, if your husband is making a new friend, if your wife is making a new friend, or if a family member is trying to get close, you can always talk about it again, every time. And that is because you've created a very beautiful and conducive environment for communication. I started by talking about the concept of marriage. I talked about the concept of oneness in marriage and the fact that when people marry, they should live and make their marriage a priority. And then I came to talk about the challenges that we face with family and friends, the challenge of expectations, the challenge of conflicting loyalties, the challenge of social dynamics, and then the challenge of conflicts and disagreements. These are the things that happen. And then I came to talk about, I came to say, I am suggesting 3 ways in which we can manage families and friends in marriage. I started with the issue of boundaries. And I said you should be able to set clear boundaries, not alone, but together. And number 2, I said you should build a culture of open, transparent, honest communication. And the third one is you need to prioritize well. Now, when I talk about prioritizing, you know, my bias is now towards the marriage or your relationship, as it were. So let me explain why I am talking about this bias. The concept of marriage, the principle of marriage, it doesn't take you away from your family member. Your family is still your family, but your marriage, your husband, your wife is also your family. And so the moment marriage comes into the scene, it is essential to prioritize your marriage. And that prioritizing can help you to successfully manage your family and your friends. So this is what you do. You have family, you have friends, they need your time. But how much time do you give to the one that you are living with? So you should make an intentional effort to make time for regular date nights and quality time together. You see, there are people who are married and they will spend all the time with their friends, all the time with their family of orientation, leaving their conjugal family. And they will always say, oh, as for you, I'm always with you. As for you, I'm always with you. But in the name of as for you, I am always with you, they are never with you. So it is important to make an intentional effort to make time for regular dates, nights, and create quality time. Tell yourself that this weekend, I will not go anywhere. I want to spend it with my family. Tell yourself that for the last weekend in every month, or the first weekend in every month, or whatever, it is something that you can actually plan. I will go out on a date with my family. If you do this, and the following weekend you are spending time with your friends, your wife or your husband is not going to feel like you are leaving me and going to attend to others. You should also be able to communicate with your partner about your needs and desires. Now, this can actually help you to prioritize. So let your partner know, this is what I actually want. This is what I actually expect from you. This is how I want to be treated. That is how it is. And once you do that, and your partner is also committed to making your needs a priority, you know that the two of you are creating the kind of bond that cannot be separated by your family and your friends. And you should also be willing to support each other in your individual relationships with friends and family. So let me explain this. You see, for you to make your family a priority, the question is that does your family also support your relationship with outsiders? How does your wife relate with your friends? Your friends have come to your house to watch football. Will your wife, for example, prepare popcorn for them? Or she'll go and hide in the living room, in the bedroom till they are gone? Your friends have come home for you to just have time together. Where will your husband be? Will your husband also sit and talk with your friends and make them feel at home? Or your husband will just go out because your friends are in? If your partner does not relate with your friends well, it becomes difficult for you to actually concentrate on being a good friend and also being a good wife or a good husband. So it is important that while you are prioritizing your marriage or your relationship with your partner, you should be able to make sure that you are supporting your partner in their individual relationships, so that you support. Nothing takes you. It doesn't take anything away from you if you decide that, okay, she's visiting an old-time friend, I am going to go with her. He's visiting his family, I'm going to go with him. Because in our traditional setup, we have come to an understanding that when two people marry, they become members of each other's families. So when I marry, my wife's mother should become my mother. I should start treating her as my mother. That is how we should do it. And so her friends are also my friends. They may not be my friends, per se, in the real sense of the word, but because she is a priority, I should be able to make them my friends as well. That is how you do it. So once you do this, you'll be able to handle your gatherings with family effectively. Because, if your family people are meeting, so for example, this one is for you and your siblings, this one is for you and your friends, you are gathering. How are you able to handle it? Remember, I talked about communication, I talked about boundaries, I talked about prioritizing. These are the things. That's the way you can go about it. So let's take family gathering as a case study. There's a family gathering. What do you do? I've talked about communication. So make sure you communicate with your partner about what you are comfortable with and what you are not. Okay, where is the family gathering taking place? It is taking place in Akosombo, and it is going to be here. all my sisters are bringing their husbands, and so you're also coming with me. Do you have any reservation? Yes, I have a reservation. I don't know how to swim. And where we are meeting, there, I know it will be expected that I swim, but you need to know ahead of time, my dear wife, that I do not swim. Therefore, when we get there and I am not swimming, don't interpret it as though I don't like people. That is communication. That is you, letting your partner know what you want. And then you also set clear boundaries about your expectations. Okay, so we are going to Akosombo for a family gathering. I'm just using the family gathering as a case. There can be so many other case studies. Okay, so we are going to Akosombo for a family gathering and you are expected to join us. Do you have any boundaries? Yes, I have boundaries. There are some things that I don't want to cross. For example, when it comes to money, I do not want to part with an amount of money up to this point. That is a clear boundary and that's a clear expectation. I expect that you should respect it as my wife or as my husband as we attend this very important thing. Very, very important. How about prioritizing? You see, maybe that weekend that your husband or your wife and his or her family are meeting at Akosombo, as it were, you were supposed to happen somewhere. But prioritizing will mean that you should cut what you were doing somewhere and go with your partner and go with him, go with her, so that the person will see that indeed you value spending quality time with the person. And you should plan ahead, discuss your strategies to be able to manage all the potential conflicts. Once you do this, you'll be able to properly navigate the challenge that family and friends, or in this case, your family can pose on your ability to connect in your marriage or in your marriage, as it were. So that is actually what I have for you tonight. Like I said, I am trying to keep it short and simple so that when the questions come, I'll be able to touch on what I didn't touch on. So this is what I have been saying. Managing your family and friends can be complex and challenging. No two ways about that. But it is actually an opportunity for you to grow and learn. All you need is to communicate effectively, set your boundaries well, and prioritize your relationship. With this, the realities of managing friends and marriage and family in marriage can actually be dealt with. And I believe that you will be able to enjoy both your husband, your wife, and your family or your friends. You'll be able to enjoy it seamlessly without a problem. But my final thought is this. If at any point in time, your husband or your wife is uncomfortable with a friend, be it an old-time friend or a new friend you are making, never choose your friend over your spouse. Sometimes your spouse can be unreasonable. Your spouse may not be making sense. I don't want you talking to this guy, full stop. Why? I am not comfortable with him. Sometimes it is intuition. Sometimes it is actually real that friend is actually not helping. When you find yourself in such a situation, prioritize your marriage. Reason is that the breaking of marriage poses more challenges than the reduction in the quality of your friendship with somebody else. Again, your husband, your wife is actually part of you. Remember, the principle of marriage is that the two of you shall become one. And so for that reason, it becomes difficult for you to sacrifice your marriage for a friendship. No matter how good a person is, never sacrifice your marriage for that person. But make sure in the midst of all these, you don't forget to build a support network. And you are going to enjoy your network of friends, your family members, as well as your spouse. Thank you for listening. And I just hope that this presentation has been helpful. I am open for questions, if any. Thank you very much. Good evening.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Prof. At this point, I'm gonna pull up the questions and we're gonna ask them. It's been a very deep and great presentation, so I know that there are a lot of questions that people have for you. So we're gonna start off from the questions from Zoom. Ashley Baptiste says, "Can you record and share? My tree is poor." Sure. And producer said the show will be purely in English, but again, it's still recorded. It is on Zoom, and it is on Facebook and YouTube. So if you go to Facebook, HRETV, you will find it, and also Tatap Send Ghana Facebook, you will find it. It's also on YouTube, HRETV on YouTube. Thank you very much for that. Dada Kofia Samoa says, "I have been blocked. They should restore me." And producer said, "Please send me your number privately. I'll have the director reach out to you." So just do that. And also, if you stay on the show during the Q&A section for Tatap Send, that will be resolved for you live whilst you're on the show. So if it's within the conditions of getting it done easily. So Gloria Antonia says, "Why are we doing the show only English? What influenced the decision?" Gloria, so most of the people can understand Chi, and we all believe that not everyone in Ghana actually understands Chi. Perhaps, we're not doing the show just within our Ghanaian community. We also have other people that joins us as visitors. So we just want to make sure that we are reaching everyone. Producer already responded to that. Okay. Prof, good day. Good to see you. And this is from William. Still got some more questions over here. William says, "Thank you. I know this is in relation to marriage couples. How do these things play out when you're engaged? Do we do the same things or not? And to what extent?" Prof, if you can answer William on that part.
Yes. So when it comes to a non-marital relationship, the principles are the same. And I shared 3 principles. These are very, very important. Setting boundaries, communication, and also prioritizing. It's very important. However, if you are my girlfriend, we are not yet married, and you are already fighting for priority over my family members, it's a red flag. If you are my girlfriend, my boyfriend, we are not yet married, and you are already asking me not to be friends with people that I've been friends with for the past 20 years, that is a red flag. In other words, if you are not comfortable with the people around me, then you cannot be comfortable with me. Before we even get to the point that we say we are engaged, we should have crossed this boundary of having conflict between who can be close to me or who cannot be. However, once I choose this person, it doesn't mean I should let go of my friends or let go of my family members, but that person begins to take a center stage in my life. That we are not yet married, but this is my number one person, as it were. This is somebody who is becoming my wife or becoming my husband. Therefore, I should be able to give the person the needed priority. I don't have to choose my friends over my boyfriend or my girlfriend. If I begin doing that, I am actually setting the tone for a bad marriage at the end of the day, because that conflict is going to continue. I don't know if this answers you, but I'm just trying to say that before marriage, the principles are the same, but you would have to make a conscious effort to ensure that you are not entertaining that conflict before marriage. So that's what I'm saying. Thank you.
Okay. JAB says, "Powerful, Prof." And Patrick Chase says, "How to react with a spouse who is a sanguine and also brings boundaries because he is excited."
All right. So this takes us to the issue of personality types. Yes. and the ones who are sanguine are highly extroverted, and like the person has said, excitement can actually lead that person to breaking of boundaries. How do you relate to the person? First of all, understanding who your partner is a good step in knowing how to handle them. So I know that my wife, or I know that my husband is sanguine, and this person being sanguine is likely to, get overly excited and break boundaries. For example, maybe I'm not comfortable with my husband hugging people. We go to church, and this is my sanguine husband hugging everybody. So what do? I have two things to do. One of them is recommended. I should try to help him understand me so that he stops it, which is more like trying to change him, and that's difficult. Or I should also reorient my mind and understand that this is the kind of husband, or this is the kind of wife I have. Therefore, I should be able to accept certain things, especially if what the person is doing is not over the bar. When I say over the bar, I'm talking about where it crosses boundaries that, are logically
Extremely.
not supposed to have gone. Exactly.
Okay. Cecilia Mankwa says, thank you, Pastor Andor. And Sweet Tia says, thanks, Prof. Simeon says, what is the best way to make an unsecured wife secured?
Okay, so insecurity the best way I would say is transparency. Transparency. Let this wife who is not secured know everything that is happening to you. Now, if there is something that you are doing wrong, it becomes difficult for you to be transparent. In other words, you can't let her know everywhere you are and everything that is happening to you. But in order for you to bring about security, one way is that let her know exactly where you are, what you are doing, who you are with, and once you do that, you actually raise the level of trust, and it helps to make the person much more secure and trust you better. That is the best way. Because your question is asking for the best way, I'm giving you the best way.
Patrick says, Pastor Andor is both my class and church mates.
Yes. I know Patrick. So, thank you for joining.
That's good. Sweetia says, what about if your partner tells you he loves you, but not do things to prove he loves you? But probably do not do things to prove he loves you.
All right. Now, for this question, let me answer it this way. It's a very tricky question. Tricky because I don't know the details. So I have had a chance of meeting a lot of people who would tell me that, look, my husband is like this, but I don't see that he loves me. My wife is like this, but I don't see that she loves me. So the moment I hear this, my first inclination is to think that partner is probably speaking a different love language. Let me explain. So there is this theory by Gary Chapman about 5 love languages. And actually, it is true that everybody wants to feel loved. And people who want to feel loved want their partner to express it in a particular way. For example, somebody wants you to just tell her, just tell me you love me. Just tell me I am beautiful. Just tell me you are proud of me. That is all I want from you. Somebody will expect that for you to show that you love me, just bring me a gift. You've never given me a gift. What shows that you love me? Somebody expects that if you really, really show that you love me, touch me with a tender, loving touch. Hug me, hold my hand, things like that. You say you love me, but you never do these things. Somebody will say that if you say you love me, then why don't you spend time with me? I need quality time with you. Somebody will say you don't even help me to do stuff. Now, in this that I am saying, I am mentioning the different love languages. So if you tell me that your partner does not do things to prove that he loves you, the question I will ask you is that what do you think a man should do or a woman should do to prove that he loves you or she loves you. And then you start saying, no, if he loves me, and then he should do this or that or that or that. Then I would say, okay, what you are talking about is actually your love language. In other words, that is how, these are the things that you want to see, to experience in order to feel loved. But have you thought of your partner and his or her love language? Because different people have different love language. So I'll now start asking you, what does he do? What does she do? Does the person use words of affirmation? Or does the person give you gifts? Or does the person spend quality time with you? Or does the person offer acts of service? Or does the person give you physical touch that shows love? The person may be doing one of these. And that means that that is his or her love language. So the person may not be doing what you may be expecting, but it doesn't mean that the person does not love you. Unless you take a love language inventory, and then you get to know that, okay, I am like this and my partner is like that. And so we will need to come to terms with each other, understand each other, and we'll be able to help ourselves. That is the way to go. Thank you.
All right. So, Pastor, there's beautiful breakdown that you've given us, and the comments are basically coming forth. Now, I must say that, Sweetie says thanks. I think you responded to her question vividly. I must say that there are so many different ways that maybe these responses may not be one size fits all. So in the case of a unique approach when it comes to a family that is very possessive, how do you manage that? Because it's like you knew this before you got into it. So how do you manage that? Pastor, I think you're on mute. Is Pastor still on? Oh, we lost him. I think your network. Yeah, so whilst we're waiting on Pastor, please keep bringing your questions. And if you have any contributions that you want to add to, please let us know. At this point, you can put the emoji up and we can actually have you, speak if you want to speak concerning, not everyone wants to type. So if you want to speak, please put your hand. Oh, Obazi, your hand is up. Let me go ahead and ask you to unmute yourself. And when Pastor comes, you just go ahead and ask your question.
You want? I was at one your friend Carla boss, the only boss with what is. Do you know about Tap Send? Tap Send is one of the easiest, convenient, reliable money transfer app you can get. You can download Tap Send on Google Play Store or App Store. We download it and then you register. And you are good to go to send money across every place, many countries in the world. Tap Send. Why wouldn't that happen?
I think his phone died.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, we'll just wait till he gets back. Then just ask. I'm pretty sure. Do you mind if you just play the video that shows the other locations that we go to?
But I think, PK, if we can have people come and kind of chime in on the topics that we're having, and then we can kind of take a mental note of the questions so that we can be interactive and not lose audience.
I mean, I understand, but I want to just do a quick commercial break. Then after that, we'll take it from there.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. All right, go ahead.
I thank you so much for this wonderful topic. And sometimes I wish we had Pastor, like if we had him accessible, especially for those young ones who are getting married now, this day and age. Because I think oftentimes, we failed them. I don't know, not and not we. I'm using the term we loosely, but ansana. Oh, we're speaking English. So before people go into marriage, I wish they could have a counseling session. I'm not sure about other congregations.
Hold on. Prof. Abba is coming in with a contribution and a question. So I mean, whilst you're in, that is for you.
All right,
So
that's fine.
Abba, go ahead.
Yeah, welcome, Professor.
Yes,
Um,
thank you.
So what I was saying is that I wish that we or congregation had pay more attention to counseling the people who are about to start this journey of marriage before they go into it, because oftentimes you date somebody 4 years, 5 years, however many years you date them for, it never prepares you to what the journey of marriage really is. Aside from interference from friends, family, it's just so hard that I think it's about time that we normalize counseling, therapy prior to, even as early as you dating or finding somebody before you start dating them. Now, with all that being said, how do you, once you're already in the marriage and family are interfering
Okay.
and
Oh,
family are, did we lose him again?
yeah, I think we lost him again.
Okay, well, I'll continue to talk in case some audience member also can chime in. I don't know. How do
That's
you
fine.
how do you manage going into a marriage and then family interference is actually bringing the marriage down, whereby it's maybe a sibling or a soul, or from it's just, how do you stop it from going down when your husband or your partner, your wife, is unable to see past or beyond the issue and have an understanding that the marriage is between you and both of you and not the external family members. So how do you maneuver that without having it blown up, especially when you go into a family where they're very, very tight and now you are the outsider coming in, and it's clearly being shown that you're an outsider. It becomes like a competition. So how do you manage to stay focused, or let the focus and attention stay between the husband and the wife
Okay.
without the interference of external family members?
All right, Prof. Over to you.
Yes, so
But
I
Prof,
was
before
I
you
was
Prof, before you respond to that, on Facebook, Edna Oliver says, interesting, establishing clear expectations, communicate clear boundaries, certainly prioritize well, worth listening. Thanks. And that was from Edna Oliver, all the way from Ghana. Pastor, proceed.
all right. So I think I was losing the link at the point, but then from what she's saying, clearly you can see that if there will be a problem like that, it means that the boundaries were not set from the beginning of the marriage. And that is why, for me, premarital counseling is very, very important. Normally, people don't understand, and they think that, oh, I mean, we are of age, we are grown, and we can get married. But if before marriage, the two of you sit down and you discuss it clearly, and then you get to understand that, see, we are getting married, we have our family members, we are not taking that fact away. However, we are going to establish a unit. So it's about the mindset that we have ahead of the marriage. And that is what we need to do. Now, assuming I am already married and I didn't have this mindset, it is time for us to sit down and talk about it. Maybe you are hearing this tonight. Your husband may not be listening, your wife may not be listening, or maybe you are not yet married. You are listening to this. And that's the reality. Sometimes you may not even think about it. When you get married, then it comes. So it is important to start thinking about it and planning ahead that, okay, in case we meet this kind of situation, This is how we intend to handle it. Even if you are not seeking counseling, the two of you should be able to decide and say that, okay, if we meet this kind of situation, this is how I think we will best handle it. And there is no method that works for everyone. You just have to think of what works for you. I can sit here and say you should make your wife number one. And maybe you would decide to say, no, I want to make my mother number one. And your wife understands. If the two of you understand it, that is fine. But, I am giving you the ideal. If you don't have any format, go by the ideal. And then I think you'll be able to navigate the challenges. Thank you.
I like the way you, oh yeah, Prof. Ampa. I like the way you really created that synergy between my question and Ober's question / contribution. You really answered both very well. Thank you very much. Clement Nkansa from Ghana says, this conversation is conversating. Those words now people be using it lately. It's so funny to me. The food is fooding. It's giving. I like that steez. It's very exciting. So any more question? Please put your emoji up or unmute yourself. Producer, do you mind if you unmute everyone so that people can just chime in and just throw in their questions as well. We have about 12 minutes to the top to the half of the hour, and we will be wrapping up this program. So please, he's all the way in the north, and he has a program very early in the morning. So let's try to make this very, very sweet, short and simple without going over the allotted time that we gave him, which is 7:30 p.m. So please, okay, we have some questions coming in. Thanks, producer, for letting me on those questions. Vanessa says, my husband is listening over WhatsApp in Ghana and has a question. He says, if there is a confusion in the house between you and your partner, is it good to go outside until everything calms down, or should I stay in the house? Wow, I like that question. That resonates a lot.
Yeah, so I like this question, even though it doesn't really somehow it relates. But let me do this. It depends on who you are married to. Now, there are some people who, if you go outside, you infuriate them the more. It's like you are ignoring me. I mean, sit down and let's talk about it. And for some people, when you go outside, it's okay. The problem is gone. So I'm able to relax. By the time you come back, the person is relaxed.
When you say the problem is gone, do you mean the person who is
the problem who is giving me the problem is gone?
Is gone. Oh, the problem that we have right now is
is gone. So the person is the problem. He's gone. He's gone out. So I can now relax. The more you see the problem, that's the person, the more infuriated you get. So it depends on the kind of partner you have. The truth is that for majority of people, going out helps. For majority of people, I'm not saying that's the ideal, but for majority of people, going out helps because you're able to calm down. Now, what happens when you get angry is that your body releases some hormones. And these hormones, it is what we call the flight or the fight or flight. Response in your body will release these hormones and you'll be tense. That is why when you are angry, all of a sudden you are sweating, you are this, you are that, your muscles become, So if you don't take care, you will not be able to think properly because you are angry. And so it is better to calm down before you actually tackle the situation. Therefore, whatever you do that helps you to calm down, including walking out, you should be able to do it. But like I said, it depends on the type of wife, the type of husband you have. Because for somebody, walking out will actually infuriate him the more because it will be like, you are walking out on me. It will be like, you are ignoring me. You are not allowing me to vent out. Because for some people, once they vent out and you listen to them and you say, I am sorry, problem solved. But for some, they will need to relax before you solve the problem, and then you'll be able to solve the problem in a relaxed mood. So I will neither condemn nor recommend the action of going out. I would always say that do what works for your peculiar situation, for your marriage. If it works for you, go for it. But always make sure you don't run away from solving a problem. Remember, when I was talking about communication, I said that they will normally say silence is golden. Oh, don't talk, don't talk. But when there is a problem to solve, when there is a crack to fix, silence is not golden. Make time, be intentional, sit down, talk about it, and solve it.
Thank you, Prof. Meg O has a question. How do you fix the boundaries after marriage? I do not understand this question properly, but maybe you might be able to figure out.
I think the question is that, when I was talking about boundaries, I think I emphasized more on the premarital stages, like before you get married. You should have said that, okay, when we get married, we'll do this.
What does Meg mean by how do you fix the boundaries after the marriage?
So
is this when the boundaries have been broken?
No, what he's saying is that we haven't set any boundaries, and now we are married. What do we do?
So how do you create the boundaries after being married?
Exactly. That's that's my understanding of his question. And I would say,
it makes sense.
Yes, I would say it's the same way. Talk about it. Let your partner know how you feel. That, hey, babe, we didn't talk about this before marriage, but it seems to become an issue, to be an issue now. So what do you think? I think we should not cross this boundary. What do you think? And then you listen to your partner. Okay, I think that the boundary should be moved a bit further. For example, so let me give an example. We didn't talk about how much money we should be given to our parents. But I don't think we should be giving them more than $500. But I see, so what do you think? And then your partner will say, now tap send makes it easier. So we can do $500, or we can do, whichever way, talk about it, you fix it. So it's about communication, basically.
Okay. All right, Prof. Vanessa says, thank you so much, Dr. Andor. We're going to take one more from Nana Kuma. Then Meg also says, thank you. Meg, thank you very much for your question, too. Nana Kuma, please tell us where you're calling from and your question.
Okay, please, good evening.
Good evening.
I'm calling from Virginia, Norfolk, Virginia.
Norfolk, Virginia. Thank you. What is your question?
My question has to do with, it's actually something that happened to someone close to me, and I'm coining the question from it. So it happened that there was this couple, they had 5 children, and they divorced. And as part of some kind of tradition or culture, they said when there's a divorce, the man has to adopt one of the children to go and live with his family members. So because of that tradition, the man adopted one of the children and gave to his mother to raise. The remaining 4 were with the woman. So she couldn't have access to her own child because she was living with the father's family. Long story short, before the woman realized, the daughter has grown up and has married. So it was at that time that this woman felt like, this is my opportunity to show my love to my daughter, because she's a victim of, circumstances, right? Because tradition demands that one is taken and given to the father's people, and she didn't have that rapport with her daughter. But it's now that she has married that the mother felt she wants to show love. And so because of that, the mother was popping in her house rampantly. Like, she would just be there and the woman will come, the mother will come around. I believe she had a good intention,
Like Nana, was she calling right before coming, or just showed up without any phone call, text message?
It wasn't calling before coming. Like, she just comes because it's her daughter's house. And I think the woman knew that if she called her daughter and told her she's coming, the daughter would have said no. But at the same time, the woman also thought that, oh, my daughter now has kids, like she has grandchildren. So she wants to be there to help her daughter with the grandkids. But if she calls, the daughter will say no. And she also feels she wants to feel her daughter. She wants to give what she couldn't give the daughter, when she was growing up. There was some kind of a vacuum because the daughter had not lived with her mother for so many years. She didn't really know her mother. So in that case, it was creating a tension. It was creating a tension between, the daughter and her husband, because the mother-in-law shows up all the time. She shows up, and when she comes to stay. Like, she wants to stay like weeks into months. And the man got frustrated. He got so frustrated, like, your mother is into everything and she's always around, and it was crazy. So in that case, how was the daughter supposed to relate to her mother? Because this is her mother, okay? She's she respects the fact that the mother wants to show love, but the mother too is feeling like the opportunity, the time she wanted to have with her child, she couldn't have it due to the divorce. What should the woman do now? Because it's either you choose your mother and your marriage will break, or you choose your husband and it will create something on your side of the family too.
Yeah, that's really a tough one.
So, probably before you respond to that, I want to know, is this case in the diaspora or it's in Africa, so that Prof can see how best to.
This was back home. This was back home in Ghana.
Okay, so Prof, you already have the geographical.
Yes. I mean, it sounds like it is back home actually, because that is where you will have this. And trust me, this is not a case in isolation. There are so many cases like that. You can't blame this woman for wanting to be close to her daughter and all that. However, and the girl, in fact, the girl is in a very tight corner. She doesn't know how to say no to the mother, and it is having an effect. So for me, this situation can be dealt with tactfully and gradually. Now, the question is, the husband should first of all understand the girl's situation. Because if you don't understand it, it will be annoying to you. And once it becomes annoying to you, you can't even properly reason. So first of all, let your woman know that, hey girl, I understand your situation. I understand that you're in a fix. And the woman should also let the husband know how she feels about her mother's, coming. So that it wouldn't be like you have agreed with your mother to be tormenting us, putting tormenting in quote. Let your husband know that, well, I am also uncomfortable with the way mommy comes, but I don't know how to go about it. If the two of you are able to talk about it and you come to a common understanding that, look, we are not sacking our mother, but we want to be able to find a way of dealing with it. If the two of you come to that understanding, it becomes easier. So first of all, work with your partner, work with your spouse, and come to a common understanding. When you have had a common understanding, then you can now work on the outsider. Now, in this case, this outsider is not even going to listen to reason. So you just have to, in the law of social order, there is what we call making it difficult for the person to offend or to commit a crime. Okay, this is not a crime, all right, but you are making it more difficult for the woman to actually invade your privacy. So how do you do it? What kind of home do you live in? And how easy is it for her to get there? Every time she comes, she meets you. She meets an empty room. She meets these. But if you begin making it a bit difficult for her to come, for example, she comes 2 times, I mean once, twice, thrice, and once in a while she will come and will not meet you at home. She will come and will not find the environment conducive and all that. It's likely to reduce it gradually. Then the second, strategy is to talk about it. Sit her down, and this time around, don't involve your husband. Let it be you. Hello, mommy. I think that I will really, really, really like it when you come, but I think that you should reduce it. This will depend on the kind of rapport and relationship they have built. From the story, it is clear that they don't have that relationship, so it becomes difficult to really come out. But if you are able to build a rapport where you can actually speak to her heart, she will clearly understand it, and she would, try to show her presence in a different way that will not be more like trying to torment you. So the first step is agreeing with your husband, and then being able to tactfully make it uncomfortable for her to come.
Okay, we're gonna end up this program by taking the last question, which is from Kojofre Paul, and after that, Prof, you're gonna share your number so that people can actually contact you and book the sessions and just have a one-on-one time with you as well. Kojofre Paul says, where do you start repairing problematic marriage, where both couples admit there is a problem and there is a need to start afresh? Starting point is ... question mark.
All right, so starting point is what they have started, admitting that there is a problem. That's the starting point. Now, if we get to that starting point, then the next is to seek help. So we know there's a problem, let us seek help. In case you don't want to seek help and you want to do a self-help, then I would recommend that, okay, do an assessment of the problem. So there's a problem in the marriage, yes, let's assess it. How well are we doing in this area, in that area, in that area? When you have done that assessment, you would get to know the problem in detail. And it is from there that you can move to the steps that follow. The steps that follow, okay, we know that there's a communication lapse in our marriage, or we know that there's a lapse in our sex life, or whichever area. How do we solve it? Let's get the information we need. If you were seeking counseling, the counselor can actually, guide you through to get it done. But if you are doing a self-help, then you do an assessment, you identify the problems, and then you begin to get information on how to fix that particular problem. You can't fix a marriage that is become problematic overnight. It takes time. So you make sure you fix the issues one after the other. And before you realize, your marriage will be back on its feet. Thank you.
Prof. Andor is the director of Paraklet Love and Life Consultancy. Prof, what is the number so that we can put it in the chat room so that others can take and contact you for a session?
020.
So plus 233, producer, do you mind if you have
plus 233 020 890.
Prof, Tobase. Plus 233.
Yes, plus 233
20
890 5912.
Okay.
Plus 233 20 890 5912.
Thanks, Prof. So, it looked like Ernest brought the last question. Let's do this so that we can wrap it up. What do you do if your spouse insults you deeply that you weren't expecting when you get mad at something in the house?
Well, if your wife insults you, it's hurting, it's painful. The first thing to do is to calm down, because if you don't calm down, you are likely to destroy everything. So the first thing to do is to calm down. When you have calmed down, you can find a better way of addressing the situation.
Okay. Thank you very much, Prof. Before we sign you out, I would like to say, A-Class and Director Danny, can you guys please post the link to the Friends of Startup Send WhatsApp chat? And also, producer has posted the link to the HITV chat room where we discuss topics and things that we want to see grow on this platform. So please join the link. And when you come, you are most welcome to be a part of it so that we can discuss topics. And if you have any resource person or that wants to come on the show, that'll be the best place to find myself or producer Lord so that we can communicate and see how best we can get everybody on board. A-Class and Danny, can you please post that chat for me? The next one that will be posted that says Friends of Tatapsen is the one that you click on, and if you have any issues or concerns with Tatapsen, you basically address it over there. At this point, we're gonna call upon Director Danny or A-Class to A-Class just posted the link, so that is the one for the Friends of Tatapsen to actually sign out Professor Andor. Director Danny or A-Class, one of them. Okay, one of you do as the honest. Thank you.
Dr. Edasipi Yami Inshapa for Ejumapa Uniye AD. And we say God richly and richly bless you.
Amen.
It has been a long season, long time. And also, anytime that we call upon you, Biano, you make it a point to step in and deliver as usual. And I believe and pray that the gist and the tale that you've given us, it will help some people. It will help us in the long way of not stepping into the mud without knowing the consequences of the steps that we are making. God richly bless you. And acha mommy am so say the other Emma Oba at this time to give us the best that he can. God bless you. Yamisha.
Amen.
All right,
Amen.
Prof. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for always being here for us. Thank you. So next week we will be having lawyer Rhoda Frimpong, and we will be talking more into legal aspects. And please pack your questions up and get ready for lawyer Rhoda Frimpong with all the nuggets that we can have concerning the updates of this current administration. So next week will be a legal session. Thank you guys, and please do not leave because at this point we're gonna sign out on YouTube and Facebook. Big thanks to all our viewers and our listeners wherever you are, and also great thanks to our sponsors, especially Tatapsen, for holding us down and bringing this show to you every week. At this point, it's gonna be the Q&A session with Tatapsen, run by Uncle Jimmy and supported by Director Danny and A-Class, as well as all the ambassadors that are very, very, effective and ready to help answer some of your questions. We have Oba, which we already heard of, and we have basically Kofi Boateng, Auntie Cecilia, Auntie Christy, and Uncle Jimmy himself, and Lady Smart. Please, if I do not mention it, forgive me. Dorothy, and the rest of you online right now, please. Uncle Jimmy, over to you. Thank you guys. God bless you. See you guys next week. Those of you on Facebook and Zoom, and I'm urging you all to please join us. Those of you on Facebook and YouTube, I'm urging you all to please join us on Zoom so that we can continue